Hello viewers, welcome back to Ganesh Kuppala TV. Recently you have seen me talking to various guests on my show about topics that would interest immigrants, especially South Asian Indian community. Thank you so much for all your cooperation on sharing the feedback and all. Most of the people, my audience especially, asked about bringing up more discussions on dual citizenship and how it would work for Indian citizens who are living outside of country and or overseas Indians basically. So I have thought about this and brought a panel of guests today who are experts in different fields of work and been in the country UK for such a long time. So I want to talk to them and hear from them about how do they feel about this particular topic, dual citizenship for overseas Indians. So I have different kinds of expertise on the panel today. Let me introduce you to my guests. I have Kamlakar Voruganti, our panelist number one, who's a solicitor, and he's been here for close to 25 years in UK, so spent a lot of time in UK working on a lot of legal aspects. And then I have Prabhakar Kaza, who's ex-banker and who was a CEO of one of the prominent banks in UK, and now being a public servant for some time in UK, and you've been here for more than 2 decades as well. And I have Varadarajan Viswanathan, who is head of compliance in one of the well-known banks in UK again, and who deals with a lot of finance matters, and you are a chartered accountant and company secretary as well, right? And I also have Mr. Yash Rangineni, who is director in NHS, and he's also a film producer and very prominent personality from India. You made a lot of big films in India as well. So I wanted to bring different kind of people onto the panel and hear from them about what their thoughts are basically about dual citizenship. Before I come to you guys, I just want to bring, I was doing some research on this topic and had gone through various materials, and one of the definitely stood out material for me was 2001 report, while Prime Minister Vajpayee was there and Yashwant Singh and all of those ministries were working very prominently and very closely on the topic of dual citizenship. And there's so many findings out of that, we can discuss about all that stuff, but I'll give you a few numbers to start with, and let's think about what it means. So back in 2001, there were like 20 million Indians who were living outside of the country. And I was just checking the statistics as of December 24. We have 36 million, close to 36 million Indians who are living outside of the country. And I had one of the remittance companies on my show recently, and he was telling me that 2024 alone, NRIs or OCI or POI, whatever you call it as, people of Indian origin living outside of the country sent close to 100 billion USD to India. That's the money we are talking about. And again, just to give you interesting statistics, that 100 billion USD is actually much bigger than number of countries' budget, country budget I'm talking about. So it's a huge money, right? So the impact that Indians sitting outside of India is really big, and you are bankers, you know this much better than me. So thinking about all that stuff and considering the numbers that I'm talking about and what it means to all of us. So I want to start with those statistics and get your reflections on to see what do you feel. I mean, do you think dual citizenship for Indians sitting outside of India is required, and what is your thoughts to start with? Why don't we start with Kamlakar Garu and see what he thinks about it?
Yeah, my personal view is definitely so much of contribution from the diaspora.
Yeah.
Be it numbers which you were given just now, it's a phenomenal number, it's a huge number. Be it technical side, be it in information technology, be it in investment, be it in industry. The 2001 report which you referred, which is a 500 pages report, much more detailed. They've consulted 20 countries, diaspora in 20 countries, missions in abroad, and they have come to a conclusion after weighing the pros and cons. Imagine this is no one's report. This is the Indian government itself. Report. It's a report made by the Indian government. The committee categorically recommends dual citizenship to the diaspora, to the limited number, not all, limited number of countries which they feel that it's safer to introduce. And there are limitations in that also. There are rules and regulations which everybody has to follow. It's an application process, you follow the rules. And there will be a vetting by the government. There is a due process. And also the report of 2001 clearly indicates certain countries like neighboring countries, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan, they are not eligible for the dual citizenship.
We'll get into that.
What I'm trying to do that you see definitely it's give and take. If India is benefiting out of diaspora, so the diaspora all that they requires is a sense of pride and emotion and integration with the India.
Yeah.
So that's their primary requisite because they were born and bred there.
Connection.
The connection is more important. That's how, because that's the connection itself, their emotion itself bringing a lot of good to the India. So when a lot of good is happening, India must give return back and give them the self-respect. That's what my view is.
That makes sense. So Prabhakar ji, from your lens of banker, you have dealt with so much of money and all. The number that I gave you is for 2024. Yeah, but how prominent or significant is the contribution of Indian origin people outside of India to the economy of India, and what is your experience? And
number one.
Yeah.
100 million is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Billion is a lot of money. And we are probably the number one country as far as the countries go in terms of diaspora investment back to the country.
That's true.
Or remittance back to the country.
That's so true.
But there are other countries also.
Yeah.
You have Brazil, you have China,
Yeah.
you have Philippines, for example, filling up about 1/4 of their budget.
True.
One is the amount of money that the diaspora is remitting back.
Correct.
But that's mostly probably because they're not in a position. They're not in a position to find any investment in the country of residence. Whether are they doing it out of loyalty? That's a question mark. They are doing probably because they find it much better to remit back. Okay. Then since you talked about the 2001 report, very voluminous, covers a large number of items, as all of us have seen. But one, Government of India has moved on. There comes PIO, then they came up with OCI. The OCI takes care of majority of the requirements of the diaspora. The issue will be, is the diaspora asking for it in different countries or just in the richer in the OECD countries? One. Two, are they saying that, look, since we are not having citizenship, we are not investing money into India. Since we are talking about it, billions and millions all the time.
Billions.
So, billions all the time.
Yeah.
So the millions that NRIs can bring into India or the diaspora can bring into India, is it something blocking them from doing it because they don't have citizenship? That's one question. Plus, above all, Government of India, does it find it financially viable? Is it worth it? Finance is one thing. Plus, of course, security of the nation. That question mark is always there. Whether countries where we do not want people to come in.
Yeah, I'll come to that.
Come to that, exactly.
For sure.
So all these factors have to be taken into the country. Finance is just one aspect of deciding dual citizenship.
But yeah, at the same time, what Kamlakar was telling about was on the the point around pride and connection with the country. That comes definitely. I'm sure when you had to let go your citizenship, you would have felt emotional. Is that a case? Or?
Of course, for every one of us. All our grandparents probably would have gone to jail. Grandmother went to jail. This kind of thing is always there in every family's story. So naturally, you feel the pang of it when these things would happen. But like I keep saying now, St. Kitts, for example, was the first one to start this citizenship by investment. You put in some money into the country, then we'll give you a passport. Large number of countries have taken it up. So now citizenship is supposed to be a matter of convenience. The view of most people now, globally, who travel globally, people like you would have stayed in Dubai for some time, US for some time, UK for some time, stayed in about 4 or 5 countries, where I have a little less loyalty. Of course, you don't have so many passports, but there are people having half a dozen passports. So their loyalty is question mark. So that's also another issue, whether it's a matter of loyalty and commitment. Are you willing to give your life because of the passport? Or is it just a matter of convenience, permitting you to travel wherever you want or invest wherever you want?
Interesting. I'll come to you, Varadarajan. So your reflections on dual citizenship to start with, and then we'll go back.
I think it's not if, but it's a matter of when. So ultimately, it's all a timing issue. The reason we are having this discussion even now is that it's taken a long time, say from the 2001 report to 2025. The thing is, we saw the PIO card being introduced, and then once that was introduced, you had the operational difficulties. So when that was taken up, the OCI thing came up almost after 10 years after introduction of this. So hopefully now things will change. That another 10 years have passed. At the same time, there are a lot of factors which need to be considered. I mean, you spoke about loyalty to India. I mean, repeat, I still feel that, that we are having this conversation itself is testimony to the fact that you can take an Indian out of India, but not India out of an Indian. Correct. And everybody has got that attachment and affinity. But I would put it this way. Say this doesn't happen, say, for another 30 years or 50 years, right? Then what happens to not the immediate next generation, but say our grandchildren or others? There are a lot of people, say, who've been in Africa, who've moved back here. They have now been to India. So then they'll lose the connection with the roots. Yeah. As far as the finance and remittance numbers are concerned, of course, that's again, the contribution is significant because even when you look at the overall percentage to GDP that these remittances constitute and how much of this when it comes to the balance of payment situation, how important this is. We don't need to remind what happened in 2012 and where India was when it came to this. So as far as the government is concerned, the government of India clearly understands all these things. At the same time, there are certain challenges which they need to address. And the issues are again from administrative, security, structural changes, legal, everything. All those things need to change. But more than that, it's a mindset that needs to change. So somewhere, maybe, hopefully through this program again, you are able to drive the thought in that direction. And changes will have to happen from both sides. So clearly the diaspora also will need to clearly articulate what exactly they expect. And maybe you have a list of, say, 10 things. Maybe they may give in for 4 or 5. Hopefully the Indian Prime Minister will definitely consider this favorably. And that could happen.
Very well said, Varadarajan. When you mentioned about you can take Indian out of India, but you cannot take India out of Indian. It's very rightly said, and I completely agree, being an Indian. So I'll come to you, Yash. You have been here for 30 years. So you've lost your Indian citizenship after some time. How did you feel when you had to let go your Indian citizenship?
It was a very emotionally driven decision. I didn't like it from the start, but it took about at least 2 months to 3 months before my wife and I decided to make that decision. Definitely it was one of those, particularly when I spoke to my mom on that day, and she didn't like it at all. So it was definitely very emotional. When I thought of losing my Indian citizenship, it wasn't great. Yeah. But coming to what everyone is saying, I'm definitely a pro-dual citizenship and advocate that. Particularly coming back from the entertainment industry. If you think of entertainment industry thrives on collaboration and cultural exchanges. When you think of Indian diaspora, NRIs particularly, it gives an opportunity for them to really explore better options. Those who are, if I take some examples, we have Meera Nair, Gurinder Chadha, and there are some singers, pop singers who are based in the UK. I see when I read about their stories, they're losing some opportunities, particularly explore in India, being a foreign citizen. By having the dual citizenship, that definitely gives them an opportunity to do and connect both cultures even better. And I know you spoke about having a dual citizenship as a convenience. It's not just about the convenience. I think it's about more in terms of providing the opportunity and creating that innovation or explore the technology what both countries offer for particularly the entertainment industry is way forward. Definitely, I would say. How we spoke about the security issues. That's one thing. I'm not 100% sure how much that's going to reflect on.
I'll come back to that, Yash, but quickly, one thing you mentioned is completely caught my attention, right? One about piece of how entertainment industry losing opportunities because of this, right? That's a very interesting aspect because people talk about dual citizenship. One is definitely emotional, but what else? What else we're talking about? I mean, one thing definitely struck me when I was reading about all this stuff, and just to give you stats, I'm sure most of you know, around 85 countries, or some of them have very clear dual citizenship. it's not unusual to have a dual citizenship. So the whole world is 196 and close to 50% of the countries allows dual citizenship. So I don't think there is, I mean, something is working well. That's why they're doing it, probably. But yeah, it's academic discussion. We have to think about what it means. But what are the losses for not having dual citizenship, especially? Can we focus on that for a minute? Thank you for bringing that, Yash. So you mentioned about entertainment industry, opportunities are limited because of dual citizenship, or people like Meera Nair and cannot go and because of restrictions. And anything else? And if you can touch on healthcare as well, because you are really close to it.
Before we go on to the healthcare, I'll give a very personal example which happened to me.
Yeah.
You know, when we first had our National Film Award for the Pellichuplo, our first film, being the producer that was selected for the best film for that year in 2017, I was supposed to, I was, taken for granted. I thought I'm going to be, getting the invitation for that. It was produced by myself and my partner, Raj Kankuri. And he got the invitation. I didn't get it. But that's because, I'm non-Indian citizen. I'm a British citizen. So I had to do a lot of background work. But I still managed to do that purely because of, a local friend here. I went to see Kavita Garu, and then she connected me with the Vice President of India, Venkaiah Naidu Garu. I spoke about it. And there are some loopholes as well. Although the current system, the National Film Award, what it says is non-resident Indian, Indian, those who are not Indian citizens, they are not eligible for National Film Awards. But at the same time, Indian Film Federation, it says they can be considered. So there are that's a loophole there. So using that, then I went to argue my case with the Venkaiah Naidu Garu, and he saw that. He sent to his private secretary, and I went to see in the president's office. Finally, I managed to get it, but I couldn't go to, there is only one person which is allowed to receive the award in front of the president. So we have to pick, my partner Raj Kankar. Being British citizen, I was not even eligible for that.
Yeah, had you have Indian citizenship, it could have been easy.
I could have,
dual citizenship.
Exactly.
See, that's classic personal case, and that's what it matters, He made a film, putting his all money, maybe he earned outside of the country, but he made a film for India, in Indian origin. You filmed everything in India.
The technicians are Indians, the artists are Indians, everyone is Indian.
But he wasn't allowed.
Apart from the producer.
Which is thank you so much for bringing that. But I want to hear from you, Kamalji, now. What else similar to that? Like, I'm sure industry would have also had some limitations just because you don't have
definitely. See, I would like to say a particular report. If you must have read, I don't know how many people have read it in detail. The report itself recommends in 2001, we are in 2025, that recommends SEZs, particularly SEZs, invite the diaspora and give an opportunity for the diaspora to set up SEZs, a single window platform where encourage the diaspora to come back and set up the industries. So in that, I have seen one government that has given is the TRS government. I'm not talking politics here. There was a TS Pass, a single window mechanism. But I'm not talking about they are giving it to the diaspora. The model was there. TS Pass was there. Across the globe, Microsoft is coming, Amazon is coming, everybody is coming and investing in there. But the report talks about exclusive to the diaspora, incentives to the diaspora. So when you talk in that sense, what gives them peace of mind for the diaspora is a peace of mind and a stability in their heart that if you are a dual citizen, you are permanent there. The laws and rights are they are guaranteed for you. So in that context, I'm talking about OCI, which one we are, government of India is given.
And you all have
OCI, we are all holding the OCI. The problem with the OCI is that it's temporary. You can be removed from the country. You can be stopped at the border. So that's the sense of, there is no sense of stability. There is no sense of peace of mind for me to invest and take the risk when you talk about business sense.
Be a good man.
Yeah. No, it's not only good man.
Understood.
Right. At no fault, you can be.
It is possible.
It is possible. At no fault of yours, you can be implicated into anything.
No, interesting. So I'll come to you, Varadarajan. So Mr. Jaishankar was here, our External Affairs Minister, few months back. He was in Columbia University, and a student asked the same question about dual citizenship, and it's a very specific discussion around dual citizenship. I'm sure you would have followed with Mr. Jaishankar. He wasn't. In his response, he was referring to OCI as much as, almost like dual citizenship, which is not the truth, right? So what's your thoughts about, like, I want to get two things from you, Varadarajan. One is, what is the difference between OCI and dual citizenship? Having Indian citizenship specifically. And two is, what it limits us, especially in the business area?
To answer your first question, as far as the difference between OCI and, say, citizenship, the key thing is that you can't be applying for, say, government jobs or military or any other position, except with the approval of the central government. Okay. So that's the clause which he was referring to, under which you are allowed to travel. Yeah, but then that results in bureaucratic and delays and administrative wrangles and all that. So that's one thing to be borne in mind. The other thing is, of course, you have an indefinite stay, so there is no requirement. Previously, you had a thing, this is, of course, comparing and contrasting with possibly the PIO card, that you have to register with the FRRO, Foreigners Regional Registration Office, and if you're going to be staying in India for more than 6 months. So, and you don't have the right to vote if you are OCI card holder as opposed to a citizen. So that's the key difference. Other than that, of course, the third thing, which I guess a lot of people are getting impacted by, is that you can't acquire agricultural land. So you can inherit, but you can't acquire. Yeah. So that's the other thing to be borne in mind.
That's very interesting because, sorry, I'll touch on that particular point. I'll come to you after this. Not acquiring agricultural land is an interesting piece for me because I spoke about remittance. When non-resident Indians or OCI holders spending so much money back to country, but you're limiting them to have a piece of land, doesn't actually sit with, agriculture. If I want to, why not? So that's very interesting. Is there a reason what they're trying to say?
You'll be able to give you, but one of the things as a chartered accountant that comes to my mind is that agricultural income is exempt from tax under Section 10. Yeah. So the important thing to be borne in mind is that when it comes to, say, there is a tax issue, there is a question of money laundering and things like that, in the sense that unaccounted wealth could be then shown as having been acquired or raised through agriculture. So that's one of the things that comes to my mind. But other than that, if there is anything, I'm happy for Kaza.
One thing that I've noticed in this is about price inflation. If all of us are permitted to buy agricultural land, we'll be competing for the same amount of land in one particular area and bidding for it. Prices of agricultural land will shoot up. That means your food prices will go up in the country.
But that will anyways happen. That will anyways happen. With
but
money
right now you don't have
as well.
Right now, if you are a British passport holder, you don't have.
I'm talking about citizens within India. If they want to hike up the price, it will anyways happen. Yeah.
Government of India is there to control what is happening in India. Now this is external influence we're talking about. People like us saying that I want a piece of agricultural land, and then we bid for it. Prices shoot up in the country. The most important thing, I think, some people, of course, with electoral reasons, you can't contest for an election in India if you are only an OCA holder. That's another thing that's bugging a lot of people who want to contest for elections in India, but who can't contest because this is coming in the way. And another point that he made was about staying in India for a long time. You can stay in India with the OCA card only if your passport keeps renewal. If you don't renew your British passport, you can't stay in India on the OCA card. Okay, you have to keep continuing, whether British passport, American passport, whatever passport. The foreign passport has to be renewed terms. It should be valid foreign passport to stay in India. And one point that he made very clear: if you, Government of India can kick you out any moment. And that uncertainty is always there with the OCA card. And the main reason, of course, I keep saying all the time is the Government of India is not really even sure right now about the loyalty of people who are abroad say, armed for services into the government or in elections for that matter. If they have foreign passport, what will they do? The loyalty issue when there is a conflict.
Yeah. What's interesting is, I'll come to you now, Yash. But just before coming to Yash, what's interesting is whenever things outside of the country happens, like Rishi, when Rishi was elected as a Prime Minister here, the whole India was celebrating, isn't it? Like saying Indian origin became a Prime Minister, and it's everywhere. And same with Kamala Harris, like, there was so much of support. And I'm sure people are here in India, citizens of India living in UK would have been proud about some of this stuff.
The Vice President's wife, American Vice President's wife.
American Vice President wife now and all that stuff. So there's so much of pride about, being Indian, but you don't want them to come and contest in India.
That's because of, the security issues, where does it stop in terms of, the loyalties? You are an outsider outside India, living throughout your life, but you are coming back to India to contest. But what influences they will have, the conflict between having British citizenship and Indian citizenship, and you are participating in Indian elections to hold a government position, don't you think that's going to lead to quite a serious, security lapse, potentially,
That's the question
intelligence
I'm asking you
point
guys.
of view? Yeah.
So
I think
my question is, my question there, Yash, is primarily, what I don't understand, maybe it's my ignorance, that when 85 countries can do this, how India is different? When countries like US, who has big land, much bigger economy than us, can do this.
You can't become a US president.
I'm just giving
if
examples.
If you're not born in the US.
I understood.
It's the same thing, isn't it?
I'm talking about. I'm talking about like things. I'm limiting the topic to dual citizenship particularly. When dual citizenship is possible for 85 countries, why not us? Is a fundamental question. A lot of my audience are asking. So that's the reason I brought all of you experts here to discuss about that. Yeah, please.
One of the main reasons why this dual citizenship has succeeded is because of colonialism. Only if you have a colonial rule and then you are separated, say Brazil and Portugal. And for the Portuguese want to continue to invest in India, invest in Brazil, then they can have dual citizenship. Because then there is no problem, because I can continue to invest in Brazil even though we have lost the sovereignty of Brazil as such. Portugal has ceded sovereignty. But whereas in the case of India and UK, when the British left India, there were hardly 50,000 people. 50,000 British passport holders. Britishers. Everybody had a British passport, or grandparents. But say 50,000 Britishers as such, whose number, of course, must be now in single digit, if you ask me. So, and the investment after our independence in the last 75 years have not been much from the British side into India. It's only trade, not much as an investment, except a few things, companies here and there. We don't have so many companies. I mean, if you go to a shop, you don't find made in England, which you expect to because we were a colonized country for about 2 centuries. If that probably had happened, Government of India would have found it highly beneficial to give the passport rights to Britishers, British passport holders. And said, look, you take Indian passport. All of you can invest in India because we find investment in India will flow much faster, more smoothly, without, like you mentioned, bureaucratic and procedural wrangles. And the same thing holds for Spain, something with Portugal, France, Germany.
Understood.
All of them permitted this in Africa.
But just to give some stats and facts to you, and I'll come to you, Varadarajan, after this facts probably. When 2001 report was done, it was an extensive report, and all the topics that we are talking about now were studied extremely into deep, right? And they studied each country, right? And I've gone through that, and I can see why the report came up saying that in favor of dual citizenship, excluding some countries obviously, and I will come to the security concerns as a challenge. But what I have very clearly seen is government understands this stuff. And what happened from 2001 till now is the biggest question for me. What has changed these things? Why is it not happening? So what's your thoughts on that area?
Why it's not happening clearly, like I said, one of the major areas is of security concerns.
But we have exclusions that is recommended by the country.
That is right. So the point is in terms of timing. So when you will have it. If you see current geopolitical situation, the way the equations are panning out, relationship between say India, US, India, UK,
India, Russia.
Yeah, Russia, and what's happened in the recent past about say extradition of people from other countries to India. The recognition of the Indian legal system. Currently, yes, of course, this is, though it's recognized, there are other things about the condition of the prisons and whether this is okay or not. And all that then gets examined by foreign media more than anything else. And trial by media also has become, unfortunately, order of the day. So that also poses its own challenges. So that's where then the Indian government, I would say basically, possibly still looking at it with a bit of cautious optimism. So caution is much more rather than any other this. Whereas what you mentioned about Indians wanting to invest in India, in fact, yeah, if you have Indian citizenship as well, that is if dual citizenship is granted, then you'd think there is more skin in the game for that individual.
So true.
So that's something where, but then the question arises, so what you said about somebody holding, say, 2 or 3 citizenships, the first question is that the issues of conflict of interest. So if you had to take the oath of allegiance, yeah, who would you owe your allegiance to in the first instance?
And you only choose based on what
Personal.
exactly,
Yeah.
not at the benefit of the India itself. You choose what benefits you, isn't it? And that's going to be a serious
I think that's
issue.
where the committee actually.
And also, I want to make
Yeah,
another
go ahead,
point
yeah,
here in
sure.
terms of the security.
Sure, sure.
In order, I know they've recommended, and potentially that could happen. But the issue here is you need to have a proper treaties with those countries. Very liberal, very generous treaties. You spoke about the extradition. Currently, I don't know, by having these dual citizenship, how many countries willing to actually give that flexibility for India? I don't think anyone would. And that's one of the benefits for,
But
why is these crews still here?
Isn't it the job of external affairs?
I'm not.
Yes, what I was trying.
for somebody here.
Exactly.
Yeah, thanks for those points. Yeah.
Potentially, do you think UK will agree that treaty?
No, that's what my point is. See, when you talked about UK specifically, Mr. Piyush Goyal was here last year, and there was a discussion about FTA, and we were all part of it. Prabhakar ji was also there. So there were so many discussions about free trade agreement between UK and India, and I think UK and India does share great relationship, right? It's been the case for a number of years now, and I'm particularly positive about UK and India for sure in this aspect as well, because if both the foreign ministries wants to come together and work out on a point to see where it can possible, I think it does work, especially under the new government that we had for the last decade or so. A lot of foreign relationships are really strong now for India. I think the possibility is looking very strong, and I'll come to Kamal. You made a petition as well in the British Parliament recently in favor of dual citizenship, or you want to have a discussion around dual citizenship. So why don't you please show some light on what is that we are trying to achieve?
Let's begin with the PIO.
Yeah.
Let's ask a question. How did the PIO come into the picture? Because of the report.
Yeah.
Secondly, how did the OCI? Because of the report 2001. And the statement from External Affairs Minister Jaishankar in last December 2024 was clear that the debate still on.
It's still on.
This is he said this is an alternative step to bridge that gap, OCI. At the moment, the debate still going on. What I want is from the Indian government, let's be realistic, let's be more sensible. There should be a time bound moving forward towards the achieving that goal of dual citizenship. You could chalk out a program, you have a plans, you have rules and regulations, you only give it to certain countries where you feel that this can be achieved, keeping in mind the security concerns fulfilled and the sovereignty of India is protected. So why don't you run? It's a trial and error basis, we don't want everybody to come and take the citizenship. You have a mechanism as a government at a high level, you elect certain countries, you run for it rather than saying no to entire diaspora, which is no good to anybody. This is where I'm coming. This is a blanket approach. When you say Article 9 of the Constitution, some refers to Article 9, I'm coming to there. Where it says Article 9, if you voluntarily acquire a citizenship of another state, you can't hold Indian citizenship. The voluntary word is a Pandora box.
Yeah.
If you ask 99% of
It's tricky.
diaspora,
I may not be doing it because I want to, but because I want to live here, I may be choosing it.
I'm coming there. If in that context, the statement of the Constitution, voluntary acquisition of a foreign state citizenship, I bet 100% or 99%, I'll give 1.1% to somebody who doesn't want it. None of these diaspora have acquired, given up the citizenship, acquired the foreign nationality voluntarily, because Indian Constitution doesn't give, there was no choice. This is only for convenience, for easiness.
True.
Where they're living. That doesn't mean that they have given up the loyalty.
That's true. And just to give you one stats there again, especially while I was doing this research, this is personal research, okay? And I spoke to multiple people of diaspora and asked them, what's your preference? Why did you want to let go your citizenship, Indian citizenship, and take British citizenship? Because we are in UK. And primary response, most of the people, 90 out of 100 said because of the travel convenience. You are in EU, I work in EU. If I want to go around EU, it's super easy for me to do with British citizenship. And I even spoke to Canadians, I even spoke to US people because most of my audience, just to let you know, most of my audience is South Asians and Indians and a lot of NRIs living across the world. And dual citizenship is a favorite topic of everyone, okay? And they want to see what is the possibilities. But then I asked, like, when you're so keen on having it, why you're letting it go, your citizenship? But the answer, as I was telling you, 90% of the answer, it's not even like less than that, is just because of the convenience. I'm very, very clear on that. So that's the question I'm trying to answer from you. I'm sure if I ask this forum as well, that could have been the reason.
My wife has a Indian passport.
Still.
She has not given it up because, like I said, all our grandparents have gone to jail and all that. She said, my grandmother went to jail, I'm not going to give this passport. And when I gave up the passport, my aunt rang me up and said, look, you remember grandfather went to jail for 4 years. He ate food in the jail. And now you have given it up. He'll be turning in his grave. Of course, then I tell her, Hindus cremate. That is just a joke. That's one aspect. Now, please ask anybody who says, any British or any passport holder, look, I want an Indian passport and the OCI card is not enough for me. Yeah. Ask him why. Why is it coming in what way? In which way is this coming in? Like, of course, he made one point. There's an award. That's a rare thing. I mean,
but that's very important.
I know, a very important thing.
Very important.
I'm not saying no to it at all. I mean,
no, that's a big thing because it's a global village now. Every industry is working.
British passport holders.
I want to give you another example.
Barry Gardner, British passport holder, has got a Padma Shri. Okay, so these things do happen. Yeah, these exceptions are always there. Now, he raised a very good point actually. He says, you might take a British passport, but you won't give up your loyalty. But supposing I join the army tomorrow, British army, and God forbid, UK has to fight India.
No.
Then what happens?
I think in
that's tricky though.
That's tricky. But the same thing happens for different countries also. Like you might fight with another country in the army.
My argument is simple, Prabhakar.
Nigeria versus UK.
85
whatever.
countries has it. It's not happening. So we got to be positive about things.
But when you say 85 countries have it,
Yeah.
you got to appreciate that there are another 85 countries or more who don't have it. And interestingly, then you got to see, do all the EU countries have it or not? To the best of my knowledge, Austria doesn't have it.
Yeah. No, but most of the EU countries
Most of them have it. But why is it that Austria doesn't have it?
No, I think I think when you look at in that perspective, are we benefiting? Are we losing? That is the debate, right? So when you in the context of diaspora, there is a large benefit they brought to you.
Absolutely.
One second. Loyalty. When you ask about loyalty, I would say Indian DNA system embodies this loyalty. Let's take an Indian family. We are extended families. In your DNA runs through. You have a loyalty to your husband. You have a loyalty to your wife. You loyalty to son, sister, extended uncle, and grandfather. So on, so beyond. See, the DNA of Indian carries, you have proved historically in 100 of centuries, you can be loyal to hundreds. There is no question, no one on the heart says that I am not loyal to my family. So similarly, in the context of this dual citizenship, what matters is somebody living in some other country carrying dual nationality is not a question. What matters is he working against your interest? Is he working in the interest of the country? So that is a problem where, for example, I say, suppose one MP from here, Savtal Sima Malhotra, for MP Virendra Sharma, holding the public post, they want to run through the government post or they want to contest in India, there is a big question.
Correct.
Because you ran for the post in abroad.
Correct.
So those are limitations you have to draw.
Fair enough.
Being in the similar sense.
Let's hear it.
All I'm saying is, again, taking on from what you said and what even the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has been
By the way,
saying.
Virendra Sharma ji was supposed to be on this as well.
But
yeah,
it's
anyway.
Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Yeah.
So you have Indians anyway saying this. Right at the outset, what I said was that it's not if, but it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
Now the only thing is that it is a 2001 report which drove this in 2005. And from 20 million, it's now at 36 million in terms of Indian diaspora.
But what's positive about that, Varadarajan, is things moved. So then we
that's
didn't have
right.
POI,
So do you
we
need-
now have OCI.
No, do you
So
need
maybe the
another
next-
report?
Yeah.
That's
we're
one.
not talking about
No,
report.
the second. So then in that case, we need to be really saying, okay, what are the specific areas or which are the specific categories? Because the report also says that it has to be given in selective cases in a particular way. When it comes to, say, you're talking about some countries, we can test it out. That's what you said. Now, and you mentioned about the FTA. So it will be a good idea to then check this. When it comes to FTA, to say, okay, wherever there is a negotiation of FTA happening, do you say then there is a regulatory equivalence? Because when I'm talking about regulatory, it covers the entire legal framework and then say, okay, if this happens, then we will send our person, or your concerns are about security. So even if his ex-individual is our citizen, we will still send him to you if there is something which has been committed on Indian soil or whatever. And when it comes to that, for example, now when you look at the special relationship which UK has with US, it's a one-way relationship where UK signed this first voluntarily to say that if there is something where the US asks for a British citizen to be, repatriated to the US to stand trial, they would do it. But the reverse is not the case. Now, that's why I'm saying that ultimately all this also happen as a matter of economic, tool for negotiation. So when it comes to that, maybe we could try this out with one country. Maybe that's something which is for India to consider.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that.
So that's the way how it will be rolled out. But how it could be implemented. But in the first place, will it happen? I'm sure it will definitely happen. Only thing is it's when.
Yeah. Very good. And I want to touch base on the healthcare because this is one more. He has. So the reason I wanted to touch base on the healthcare, Yash, is basically, if at all, India has a lot of really good healthcare system sometimes, right? Health industry is really big. So if somebody who wants to, is there anything specific on healthcare? Because when I was talking to people of different countries as part of this discussion, they did bring up this topic, and that's why you are on the panel, by the way. I wanted to touch base on. No. I just want to understand from you how it matters. Do you see this happening a lot? People want to go back to India for some healthcare, but they're restricted because of.
It's definitely happening. A close friend of mine, I'll give you an example. Just recently, she had a major problem, and she was waiting for an appointment here for almost like nearly 12 to 18 weeks, and it was getting worse. And she had no choice. Throughout her life, she paid the taxes here, but she couldn't even get to the hospital appointment to whatever she was going through. But she had to travel to India. And she paid all of that money in India without any benefits, whatever that is. Private, it was, less expensive in comparison with here. If she chooses to get a private healthcare here, definitely. But, the benefits of having dual citizenship, I don't know how that's going to reverse in terms of, treatment here versus in India.
No, but if you I'll bring you the example. I'll tell you. So the Prime Minister's health scheme in India is very popular, right? For the major diseases, you don't have to pay a penny. You can get into a hospital and get it done. Even the government hospitals, even private hospitals. Prime Minister's, it's called Arogya. Pradhan Mantri Arogya Bima, something like that. Yeah, but you cannot get it because of you're not a Indian citizen. Again, just like what was a loss to you. But this is a big loss to a lot of people. Talk about people. The reason I asked this question, a lot of Middle East community, right, who's not a huge money makers. So they do make money, a lot of money, but they send everything back to India. the diaspora in Middle East.
They can't invest there because they can't invest.
Understood. But the point here is
What we are losing here, is particularly in the healthcare industry, if I think of, there are so many people who can really invest in India. But being a foreign citizen and trying to invest in India, I think you are not tapping into the benefits the government provides. True. If you're local, if you're an Indian citizen, there are so many subsidies, Even in the, my own, if I'm talking about the film industry, we could set up a lot of, studios, and there are subsidies available for Indian citizens. At the moment, we are not benefiting from those, and that's a big, huge investment. And we spoke about the agricultural land. Again, although we are not allowed to purchase any agricultural land, but is this really stopping? I'm thinking of again money laundering here. There are so many Benami. It is happening. Again, the government is not really looking into the area as well. Although you're thinking you can't have it, but I'm sure I can go and have it. There is a way around it. How do you actually balance that?
True. You rather want to do it officially.
It is illegal.
Not the way about it.
I understand.
But what I'm trying to say, it's not stopping anyone to do that as well.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there is a business element to it, definitely, because being
why can't you just make it white?
Make it white, make it clear, so people can. I understand. And no, I'm not suggesting that people are doing or not doing. We don't know, but there's a possibility that if you let people to invest freely in India,
Prices. All four of us bidding for the same piece of land.
But it can happen in India as well. Okay.
Is it because
I appreciate your opinion. I appreciate your opinion,
okay,
but I think it is still possible to do it at home. No worries. So,
I have 3 more points.
Yeah, sure.
One is basic structure of the constitution, which we can't alter, which came after 2001 anyway. Whether citizenship is a part of the basic structure is a question mark still. We'll have to deal with it later. Maybe some Supreme Court, somebody will decide on this particular point, from what I understand.
Didn't get it.
Because this comes under the Citizenship Act.
Okay. But it's still part of the Constitution, isn't it?
No, it is Citizenship Act. Citizen is under Citizenship Act.
It's framed by the Parliament.
Framed by the Parliament, all right, but it not stipulated as the basic structure.
It's a statute.
Yeah, it's a statute by itself. One more thing, like Government of India has got.
Sorry. I'm just interested in that.
He's more a lawyer.
That's why I'm going to ask Kamal about that. If that has to change, does that need an amendment or it cannot change?
Should it change or not is a question mark.
No. My question is, what is the possibility of making changes to it?
No, see, an act
An act is an enactment by the sovereign parliament. Parliament has always,
Right
if they want, there is a need, specific need. If the government is willing, then with the majority they can pass an amendments. But that's what interesting. The report again. We are circling around the 2001, which is like a Bible. We're circling around like a Gita, Bhagavad Gita. So which has got every information what you want. You pick it because the report recommends you don't need amendment to the Constitution of India. There is a way you can do, which is why PIO reflected, which is why OCI is followed. And then we are in a step near to achieving the dual citizenship.
Except the basic structure.
A basic structure, but the rules can be made and it can be laid before, they can be statuted and everybody has to follow. But it's not a difficult task, but that's the government that is saying we have economic challenges, we have the security issues, all these things. I think as External Affairs Minister Jaishankar ji said, I'm positive that this government has done so much, but they will do it. They are stepping towards that. We have every faith on them. The debate, the minister says the debate is still on.
It is. Yeah. But this is the same country.
Discussion happened in Parliament about dual citizenship.
No, this was 2023.
24.
Brisbane. There was a talk on that.
So, but it's still on the table.
Yeah,
that's a positive thing.
Yeah.
I just want to mention one thing. Sorry, I'll come to you, Prabhakar. So it's not that unusual things or unorthodox things are not happening in India, right? I mean, Article 360, CII, very big decisions, right? GST was a big decision. All that stuff is happening. So, I'm not taking any side here, but having hope from Kamal and going with the petition and all is possible because he would have been thinking that there's so many changes happening in India. This is one of the good times to go for it as well.
I think you see the motto behind me moving that petition. I'm hoping that it will last. Is only to have a debate on that at least a constructive discussion in the parliament, because that's where we are standing now. I thought, even though context is of Indian, but the matter related to diaspora very much present in UK, so there must be a constructive discussion in the parliament, so that everybody can hear what diaspora is asking, whether this can be done or not. But it's a decision for ultimately the Indian government will take, right? But you see, it is here right to mention, I take the case of Italy. It's on page number 324 of the report. Italy has special schemes, incentives offered to diaspora for fostering closer links with Italy, and special legal and constitutional provisions in this regard. They have followed it. Dual citizenship and reservation of seats in parliament to the diaspora. So the parliament passed a citizenship bill in 1992 in Italy that allows, Article 11 of Italian constitution allows a foreign citizen who acquires foreign citizenship to retain their Italian citizenship. Italian citizens can renounce their citizenship if they desire. But the acquisition of foreign citizenship does not imply that they will lose the Italian citizenship.
You picked up interesting country, by the way.
Right.
Indian politics are impacted by this country.
That's what that's
Israel and Poland.
No. See, what I'm saying is a case where, followed by that in October 2000, they have reserved 6 seats in the Senate in Italy, right? And then there are 12 in the Chamber of Deputies in Italian communities. So what I'm saying, take this as a case, as a test cases. See, what we are trying to say is, rather than blanket no, how would you know? How would you know in this present globalization, right? Blanket no may result, you may not see. What everybody is trying to do is to bring goodness to the country. There is no selfish motto here for the diaspora. See, look at the migration. The journey of a diaspora is very, very costly, right? Even though they have taken conscious decision to leave the country for their benefit, there is exclusively their benefit, but they paid the huge cost, because they can't be with their parents, they can't be with they have no emotion to cherish, and they live in exile, all alone, and for their betterment. What I'm saying, when you assess all these things, what is the motive for them?
But that's been assessed in 2001 report.
A country cannot confer benefits on people.
No, Prabhakar, what I want to say,
a country gives a benefit only if it benefits that country. Okay,
It does,
same
it
way
does.
that we said.
But
it should
2001
benefit
report,
us.
I just want to highlight that. Sorry to stop you there. But 2001 report did take the emotions into picture. Definitely they did, and that's the finding eventually. Sorry, I'm conscious Varadarajan did not get enough time.
When it comes to UK and India, UK is not willing to give even visas for Indians to work here, as many as it wants. As you know that. Another thing is, our directive principles of state policy in India. We have been trying, we have been trying to get Scotch into India free, without any customs duty. No, we don't know. FTA is a long way. It may not happen.
It's almost there.
With the visa issue, government of UK is not willing to solve at all because of migration problems. So the question of Scotch, we have been discussing with India, since we are all British, for last 15 years. 2009. 2009 we have been discussing this. One simple thing. So the directive principles of state policy is another part of it that comes in the way. The direction of travel for the Constitution of India is different from, in UK of course we don't have a constitution, but the procedures, rules, acts, whatever they have, the direction of travel is totally different. And talking about Italy, when I didn't want to interrupt him, it's because like a very same point that I made about colonizers, because of the colonial past. They're not giving it for people from India, from Japan and Russia and all that. They're giving it basically for their own colonies. Because a huge number of people have come and migrated to Italy. They're staying there for a long time. They have to be given this benefit.
Yeah, I'm conscious of time, but let's talk about the business specifically. Varadarajan, if you can please pick, you've been leading huge banks for some time, and I just want to understand from the point of view of banking and the sector-wise, how does this matter actually? Would this matter to the financial institutions, the customers of financial institutions? somebody's talked about MLRO, like money laundering piece and all that stuff. These are all very technical topics, I know. But how would that matter or impact the citizenship pieces? Would that matter? I know I'm a tax guy. I know PE impacts and all that stuff. But if you want to,
I mean, if I were to look at it from a India perspective, and again, it's a global workforce now, so we're talking about free movement of people in both the countries. But then, if you wanted to have someone who's British and who's maybe, who's a Caucasian, he wanted to employ him in India, then again, you need to go through the Ministry of Home Affairs or whatever, and you need to get the your work permit. Yeah. So there are those challenges. So if there is a foreign citizen, if he's not, say, taken this overseas citizen of OCI card or whatever, now here you will have, at least you'll be able to get, there will be better mobility in any case. And then once the investments happen, you have better mobility. You will also possibly at some point also discuss about opening up the legal sector as well here. Then you will have a lot more changes and you will see the way the growth happens. I mean,
legal sector. Legal sector means, I would say every legal sector, because even for foreign lawyers are allowed to practice here.
Yeah, that's right. No, I'm talking about India.
Pass exams.
Yeah.
Without any local qualifications?
No, Indian lawyer, and because I'm from that background.
Pass exams,
No, Indian lawyer. If I'm a lawyer, as a registered foreign lawyer, I can practice.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Without doing anything, you make an application to the regulator as an RFL, and you can set up the practice as well, along with the certain partners.
No, even from the tax point of view as well. I'll bring that point. Enrolled agents, right? I mean, like CPAs are allowed to go and present themselves in front of the tribunals of US and all. So, I mean, definitely when you look at the aspect, like chartered accountants is not open to the world, right? I mean, it's a difference. So there is a way India looks at certain things different from large countries like UK, US, and other people are looking at it. We all are from the finance sector. We can understand. See, like CPA is allowed in multiple countries, and they can go and present. But it's not the same for chartered accountants, right? You are a chartered accountants. You came to here, but you still have to be acquiring some more pieces like ACCA, or you have to pass CPA if you are in Australia or US and all that stuff. So, yeah, I think, even in the education sector, right? I mean, I'm bringing the example of Piyush Goyal here, and also previous year when we had India Week, there were a lot of ministers from India who came, and Bridge India did this, right? You are a member of Bridge India as well. So, when they did this, the conversation was about collaboration of education system between the countries. And dual citizenship would have made it so easy for education. If a Indian origin kid wants to go back and do his bachelor's or master's in India, for example, I'm talking about, there could be a choice. Maybe in future, maybe that's something is happening, because some of the education sectors are really prominent in India compared to other countries, whereas UK is prominent in a lot of other sectors as well. So there's no possibility right now because of the citizenship piece, and there are only limited possibilities for NRIs going back and studying in India. So that's one piece, right? And on the business side, I want to understand more. If you can bring more light on business, like what are the limitations? What are we losing because not having dual citizenship?
I'll add, One, when banks, we talk about banks in particular, RBI does not want foreign banks to have more than 10% of the branches.
In India?
In India.
Okay.
Don't think that India is full of rules and regulations and very restrictive and constrictive and all that. Same thing in UK. We had State Bank of India before. Yeah. Now, of course, PNB, the subsidiary, State Bank of India has got its own subsidiary. But when we were there, we were told very clearly that we must have 80-20 of business. So if we give 80 million to Indian companies, because we are established here for Indian companies, State Bank of India, 20 million has to be given to the local companies. I mean, if you don't observe that, they're in default. So each
rural branches.
Yeah, rural branches is one thing. Yeah, they don't open. They acquire a bank having rural branches and all that in India, of course. So the same problem. So India has got its own rules and regulations on these issues. UK has got its own rules and regulations on these issues of banking. Like one of the things that anybody would think is like Bank of America, huge bank. Where is it in UK? It does not there. Citibank, where you won't find it here.
You won't find it.
So exactly. I mean, so there are rules and regulations here. Santander Bank doesn't do business banking, in the branches. I have an account. So These things, these rules and regulations are there all over the world, not just here. Same thing with the US, I mean, things is not the topic. But then what happens is, dual citizenship is not going to solve these issues.
No, I'm not talking about those issues.
Exactly.
But will dual citizenship, my question is, let me phrase the question differently. Will dual citizenship solve any of the problems that are existing right now?
Into India, definitely.
Yeah.
And the thing is, for example, now if you've seen, there are a lot more state governments who are coming here, and there's a lot more roadshows that are happening. I think there is one due to happen in respect of Assam as well. Yeah. So that would, and tourism, yes, that would be a big gainer. Now, these areas, again, there is a lot more to gain. If you have dual citizenship, you would say, like, for example, Prime Minister Modi said, oh, why are you going to other countries? I mean, one photograph of us on one of the beaches in India took away or created economic challenges for another country. Yeah. So basically, there is a lot more for India to gain in this. And you will have, currently people think about this, oh, okay, where do I want to go for my annual holidays? Yeah. So why not go to so-and-so? Yep, people will increasingly start thinking, oh, why don't I go back to India? Now, if you look at this of remittances from India, yeah, that is about 35 billion out of the 120 or whatever we were talking about in 2023. At the same time, the outward remittances were somewhere around 35 billion or so. Now, clearly that has also happened because there is increased spending on travel by Indians coming out of India.
Going to Europe and all.
Yeah, that's right. And when the dual citizenship this happens, I guess there will be increased flow even under the liberalized remittance scheme. So there is a thing win-win for both countries. True. And that's the thing where any country with whom you are keen on entering into a FTA need to get down to these nitty-gritties and then say, okay, as part of this, we need all these changes.
That's very interesting
on a
point that you're
way,
bringing.
In a structural this, we will permit to these people who have affinity and allegiance to India, demonstrated by whatever, blah, blah, blah.
But that's very, very interesting way to look into it. Like wherever there's a possibility of FTA, there is definitely a possibility of bringing more feasibility in terms of where is that I can flex it. Bringing answering the questions of security concerns and all that stuff. When you're doing FTA, there is a lot of questions that are already answered because you're doing the due diligence through this process anyways.
Yeah. You spoke about the medical, this. Of course, NHS, they may not accept this. Even my daughter is a doctor, she may not accept the thing here. But India has an age-old system of Ayurveda. Yeah. That's not available. You have a set of doctors here who practice Ayurveda, but then again, those medicines are not easily available. Yeah. Now, India has got a very good, and Ayurveda is a very well established system.
I'll tell you the
medicine.
example.
Yeah,
King Charles goes for treatment in India.
Yeah, so where it works, it's right, it should be right up to that individual then to choose. So it will definitely facilitate better choices. And if someone has to travel for this, visa, who holds dual nationality, they don't have to really think about visa for India and all that. And let's face it, it's not as expensive in India to afford this medical treatment.
Brilliant. Let's go with the closure comments. I'll come to you first.
I wanted to ask one question about
sure.
your petition, particularly. I'm very curious to know, when you're drafting that, how did you, draft your argument against the Indian government argument where they say, OCI is good enough? The things you wanted to do.
I didn't go on to that because you don't have much to put in there. All that they require is you put what it is and give few reasons. You don't give, they give you the wording, limited number of words that is allowed on there. Yeah. Once it lists, all that they see is 1 lakh people signing it. Yeah. Then the debate comes in.
Okay, let's say you pass that stage. What are the key, argument points you have against? Indian government is saying, OCI is good enough. It's almost like a citizenship. I know they can revoke any time, but at the moment you can travel freely, you can stay as long as you want to, you can do business, you can do investment. Only, the exclusions are you can't be you can't, contest in a politics. Vote and enter into politics or buy an agricultural land. Apart from that, what are the key arguments? What are we losing by not having a dual? I'm trying to, because this is a panel, I'm trying to just get into the argument.
I'm losing is emotionally, I'm not content that I'm being an Indian citizen. I was an Indian citizen, I'm no more in India.
Still freely travel.
No, it's not about question of free traveling or setting up, buying a commercial building or watching a cinema or going for an holiday. See, it's a question of more of emotion and your pride and stability. I want to be content when I'm
And the one you mentioned, you lost the national
No,
award.
which is
Yeah.
fine. No,
want to be
I'm pro dual citizenship.
not about
What I'm
the
trying to say is
I want to be
having a
content when I'm
balanced
an Indian.
argument here. Otherwise, if it becomes like a plea to the government, please give us the.
Out of say a laundry list of 10 things that you want or 10 things you're
Yeah.
losing, if they say, okay, we can give you 3 or 4, give me 3 or 4 important things, reasons why we should give
No,
it. Then yeah.
If you're so passionate about having the emotional connection with the Indian, they might say in counter argument, just keep the Indian citizenship only. Then why do you need another?
I think see the position of the government is, why I'm asking is, first is the pride, right? It's a pride movement. It's my pride, right? I was an Indian. I'm now an overseas citizen. A tag of overseas citizen hurts me deeply because it's not about holding or not. It's you wiped out my data, like from database you wiped out. I'm no more an Indian. I'm being tagged as XYZ. I'm being called as a Kamlakar Rao. If you call me as an XYZ, it's not. I'm not happy for that. So that's where my basic existence. I'm losing that pride.
It's more about the emotional connection.
Listen.
Apart from that, there isn't. I'm thinking practicalities here.
Emotion, and integrating into the Indian society, because you are drawing the lines, right? I'm being called overseas citizen, and I'm subject to limitations, whatever, XYZ, right? I'm no more, whatever that. So I'm not saying not only the election, not only the government position. What I'm saying is, where I am good, suppose XYZ, take X case. X is really talented, who can bring a lot by contesting in an election, X case. There shouldn't be any limitation. Number one, I'm a successful lawyer. I want to trade. I want to set up multiple offices throughout India. I want stability. I don't want to feel that I'm not stable here. A sense of insecurity for me, right? That's one. So similarly,
A lot of things, that makes sense.
If I were to be in government of India, I'll just ask
I'll go with the closing comments from each of you.
If I were to be in government of India, I'll ask you the question: who asked you to take British citizenship? You got to continue to the Indian citizenship, and ILR and a biometric card doesn't distinguish you from a British citizen.
No, there is. That's what I was trying to tell you.
See, look. Whether I'll tell you one thing, because you asked me a question.
That's a counter question.
See, it's whether you accept or not.
Yeah.
It's a fact that we are all being forced to go abroad because there was no infrastructure, there was no jobs at the time.
Back then,
Let me tell you. You see, in a way, indirectly, government is successive governments are responsible for this. This is a kind of forced migration. So you can't question me saying that why did you take? Because my journey has been very expensive, costly journey. I can't be with my families. I don't cherish that emotion. I tell you one thing. In Telangana, we celebrate Dasara. It's a biggest festival in India. My emotion rides 1,000 times to celebrate Dasara with my parents. Since last 25 years, none of the 1 year I could afford to go. Not because of money, because of my structure here, because children go to school, I'm fully inundated with my work. So what I'm trying to say is, there are a lot of emotions, lot of things. I am into it.
I get that. So the point, I think point is very valid. So I just want to make one quick statement here, right? I mean, not really statement, but opinion, sorry. Choosing my words carefully. So a lot of Indian students travel overseas to get higher education. We all know the reasons are, right? And we got to be really honest to that. When we picked up all of you, some of you came here as students, there are reasons why we want, because of, you rightly mentioned, I mean, you want to go to Harvard, you want to go to Oxford, you want to go to Cambridge, you want to go to MIT and all that stuff, because there is a reason behind it. It's not willingly that, if my country, I know India is making that progress. India is doing brilliant now. Things are changing now. We want to, but the point is, I want to be, I'm a tax guy. I want to bring stats always. Your migration did not stop in the last 20 years. It's doubled. So there is something happening. Indian government has to look into this categorically and see what's happening. It's not about, one is emotion, I agree to that, but statistics, numbers, all that I'm talking about business impacts. We spoke about business impacts in this discussion. There's so much of restriction on various investments that you cannot do. You as a filmmaker, you cannot go and freely do films. there is, you mentioned about Meera Nayan and all those people. Yeah, there is a bunch of other, I was speaking to US citizens as well, I was telling you, right? There are limitations that are stopping. So that's the whole reason why everybody was looking for, okay, is there an answer to this question? And that's why we are discussing about that question, right? Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned about convenience. We spoke about convenience earlier, right? If you see over the last few years, suddenly you find that the number of countries that have offered visa-free access to India has gone up.
Yeah.
So my question would be this, that this is what possibly the government also would be thinking, that, okay, now as India gains strength, economically and with a lot of other projects, everybody wants to be looking back to India to invest, to return and all that. So if the number of countries offering visa-free access, if that goes up and the passport becomes more valued, the value of the Indian passport, it's like there is an annual rating of which is the most important. So in that case, will you give up your British passport and say, okay, I want to acquire the Indian passport? Right? Those are the questions which should come up. Yes, that's right.
Yeah, absolutely fine. See, what is External Affairs Ministry's job is to do is figure out these questions, sit with diaspora.
That's right.
All that this discussion items are asking is, bring us into the discussion, do this, ask us whether we need dual citizenship or not.
Yeah.
And like anything, any referendum goes, or like any public opinion goes, if the 36 million of diaspora who's bringing 100 billion to you every year, that's not a small money, Varadarajan. I mean, it's a huge money. It's bigger than national budgets for a lot of countries.
That's true.
I'm
talking about 1 year.
Billion, not 100 billion anymore. I was reading.
Let's talk about the lower numbers at least.
It's about 120
I'm talking about the
billion
remittance. I'm talking about the remittance that is going out of
in 2023.
2024 itself.
Million US.
So much money is going back to India. And it's impacting, right? Your country, economy and all that stuff.
That's true.
See, I live here, but every month I send money back home.
That's right.
And I want my country to do well. And there are reasons for me why I'm here, right? I mean, we cannot always say that, okay, you left the country for your own reasons. That's not the case. And when you go back and speak to, that's why I'm bringing these discussions into the panels, because when I sat with people of different countries and different conversations, they were all emotional. Like Kamal was emotional, like Prabhakar was emotional. He was talking about my grandparents were freedom fighters. Why am I taking citizenship? It's all really emotional content, and Government of India has to take care of this, and they did in the 2001 report. My concern here, Yash and all of you, are when Government of India under the Prime Minister's leadership, it's not a general committee. It's under the External Ministry. It's under the leadership of Prime Minister. They went through extensive study. That's an amazing study. I've gone through that extensively. I urge all of you to look at it as well. They have done country by country, a detailed study country by country, why it should happen to UK, why it should happen to Malaysia, whatever it is, why it should not happen with few countries and all that stuff.
Risk analysis.
Risk analysis was done extensively, not just like, few days of study. It's extensive study. And the recommendation came up really well, saying that, there's a possibility, yes, there are limitations. You cannot do it to probably 20 countries or 30 countries. It's up to you. You decide. But all that this panel or this diaspora is asking basically is, please bring up the discussion.
That's true.
Let's not close the page yet. And I think what gave me hope, Jaishankar's statement in Columbia University and otherwise as well, that the page is not closed. It's still open.
But what I would make is, to meet the expectations of diaspora at this juncture, the world is moving very fast. There must be a time limit and time bound. What we do should make sense. I'm not contradicting what External Minister says, but there must be a sensible approach. Do we have to draw a line? This is where we want to. This is where we want to go.
But if you were to give a wish list, saying when we're talking about these exceptions, which is what the report also talks about, which we keep referring to, like his case, right? So if you were to list this and say something about medical tourism or whatever, or there are some other cases, if you were to specifically list these, it will then give some kind of objective basis for that discussion.
I think we do have that.
Yeah.
We do have
So
that
we need
stats,
to
and when I speak to
They
people,
have everything.
we will definitely bring that into the discussion. And I'm sure petition would ask those questions as well, for sure. Let's go with the, I know I'm conscious of time for everyone. Let's go with the closing comments. What's your, let's go with the
one
closing.
always.
Yeah.
The legal aspect.
That's good.
I think emotion brings the truthness. I request Indian government, Prime Minister Modi ji and External Affairs Minister Jaishankar ji, Let's be practical, be sensible, and let's take a positive mode. And let's step into a new era where diaspora has been considered fully. We want to achieve 100 marks. We can't be at 90 or 95 or 95.99. We can't expect, diaspora means diaspora. We want to be 100%. So I'm hoping that the government of India will be positive, and India and the diaspora grow together and do the best for the India and themselves.
I'm also hoping that government of India will take the right decision, but taking into account what is best for it. Like whether it is useful to it economically, socially, politically, and even from the angle of security. The diaspora, of course, wants both passports, because like you said, for emotional reasons, for ease of getting back to India, all that kind of stuff. You want to stay permanently back in India, you require an Indian passport again. So taking both the angles, taking the expectations of the diaspora, and also whether it is of any use to the country at all, the country requires it from the different angles. I'm sure government of India will take the correct decision.
I personally feel very positive about this, in the sense that, like I keep saying or repeating, that it's a matter of when, not if. But I'm pretty confident that this government definitely will accelerate this, and our voice will not be lost. Because they also know that a diaspora here constitute about 25% of the total this assets. In any case, 35 billion outside, and okay, out of the significant population in India. But then when it comes to how successful this diaspora has been, and when it comes to the overall this of remittance footprint and the interest of India when it comes in, I'm sure that all these people, that is the diaspora, have the interests of India at heart. So given that, I'm sure the government will also reciprocate.
From my point of view, I think relinquishing Indian citizenship was extremely emotionally burdening decision for me. I'm pro dual citizenship for this argument, by the way. Don't get me wrong here. But I was only trying to make the conversation more interesting, just a counter argument. But definitely, I think the government of India and the Prime Minister Modi and External Affairs Minister Jaishankarji will listen to the diaspora, and will listen to NRIs abroad who are residing in various countries. 36 million people. I think if you do a survey now, I don't think anyone would say, I don't want an Indian citizenship. They will definitely accept. All 36 million people probably say yes to that.
I think, sorry, I'm interrupting. In that, I think there are two things, because now that the Indian government heard the diaspora in 2020, report clearly says, nothing short of they want dual citizenship, right? So, but what Indian government could do now, that if you want to take the opinion of Indian population, let's run the opinion on the Indian population side. It's not what you call not a referendum, because Indian constitution doesn't allow the referendum, but you can run the opinion poll. So that Indian government can do, because when it comes to the security issue, right, security and integrity, integrity people can have a say on that, right? Indian people at large, because they are whether any decision that comes, whether plus or minus, they are facing it, right? So I think the Indian government has done in the past in relation to the Goa, they have done in relation to the Union territories, some of them they have done in the past. I think this is not a first time. They can repeat that, and at least hear the voice of the people before you do anything.
Yeah. I think it definitely benefits, particularly those who are emotionally still, feel that we lost our identity by not having the Indian citizenship. I think that emotional connection is very important. And I'm sure the government will make the right decision, just the outweighs the benefits, the Indian diaspora is going to bring in with the dual citizenship, outweighs the risks, they are currently worried about. Particularly, I think security is the major issue. Yeah. I think, they will listen to us, and hopefully we all succeed in having an Indian passport soon.
Thank you so much. They need to put in the necessary bells and whistles.
Exactly. I think the vetting needs to be really on a high level. I think whatever the policies they're going to make, and the treaties with the various countries, that needs to be really flexible. I think these are the issues potentially, will lead us to, achieve what we are trying to do today.
Yeah, it's amazing conversation. I would want to do it for a few more hours. I know all of you have busy days. So thank you so much, all of you personally. I know See, I'm passionate about this as well, like all of you, and I'm hoping that this will happen at some point. Not me, but people like me. There are millions of people, because the primary reason for me picking this topic for discussion itself is because most of my subscribers went back and asked me questions. Okay, you picked up remittance, you picked up dual citizenship as a topic, but why don't we hear from the large crowd? That's the reason I try to bring, entertainment industry, banking, chartered accountants, lawyers themselves, and I have many more panels coming. Audience, for your information, this is a very, very interesting, emotional, passionate topic for a lot of Indians living outside of India. And thank you so much for your time. And it shows your passion that, you spent a couple of hours here with me today because you're interested in this, right? I mean, it's not like, I know you're all very busy people. For your audience, all these are really big names, okay? So if they are coming here and spending their couple of hours with me and discussing this topic, it tells me how passionate you are and how keen you are about this piece. Thank you so much for your time. To my audience, thank you so much for spending time with us. I'll bring more discussions like this. But on this topic, I want to close to say that, I want to repeat what Varadarajan said at the beginning. You can take Indian out of India, but you cannot take India out of Indian. So we all love India, and we want to keep the citizenship of India with us. We are here for a reason, number of reasons. I was talking to a remittance company, they're saying every remittance has an excellent story behind it. There's a lot of emotion story behind it. There's money going back to India for a wedding. There's money going back to India to take care of the parents, medical reasons. Education. So there's so much emotion connected back home. We are bringing citizenship of other country for different reasons, as we discussed in the panel. So we want to have this. So my plea to the government of India to please consider this, have the discussions, bring the forums. Let's have more discussions and see how it goes. We are keen about security reasons for the country. We don't want to compromise on that, but at the same time, we don't want to lose our citizenship. So please think about it. It's in your hands. You did a lot of great things. We hope you would do one more great thing by helping us getting the dual citizenship. Thank you so much.
Can I say one final word?
Yeah, please.
First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I think it's wonderful discussion, and particularly being part of such an expertise here, experts who are in their own field, it gives me an opportunity to actually learn more and listen to more, understand about the issues, what we are currently having. But congratulations, I think your channel is growing, and all the best too. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Jai Bharat. Thank you so much, everyone.